Hello everyone, Mr. Happy here, and welcome to Mondays with Mr. Happy, aka Mr. Happy Mondays, a weekly Q&A show where you ask me questions, I answer them. Every week I try to do that a little faster, because it's like I'm so used to it at this point, it's just kind of, bleh. Anyway, videos at the bottom. I don't know what videos those are this week. I mean, there's been some good news, there's been some fun stuff that's happened in the last week, but I don't know what videos I'm going to put down there. And this is also the first recording of Mondays with Mr. Happy in 2017. I recorded this on January 1st, and then posted on January 2nd, and we're just 16 days away, 15 from when you guys see this on YouTube, from patch 3.5. And then we're not very far, less than a month, or actually a month and a day, pretty much, away from the European Fan Fest, so we can finally get those job confirmations. Now, I know there's a lot of, again, speculation going around, so just, again, if I see a question that's like somewhat similar to some of the things that have been asked in the previous weeks, or like I see a lot of recurring questions, because it happens a lot when there's speculation like this going around, just keep in mind I may end up getting your question skipped just because it's a repeat, not because it's a bad question. So just wanted to do that real quick first. Let's get into the questions over on the forums and then see if we have time for some live Twitch questions after that. All right, first question. Hey Haps, Red here. To start the up is smiley face. Okay. Okay. Palace of the Dead. Do you think Square will make any adjustments where most DPS will be able to surpass floor 130 solo? As you can see on the ranking board, this is where most DPS are walled. Also, this is more of a theory and a question in regards to swimming. Do you think Square may create a dungeon where swimming is essential? A dungeon where you have to raise the water level to progress? So I'll take the first question. I don't expect them to make adjustments because Palace of the Dead soloing to 200, they didn't intend people to solo to 200. They said if you were capable of it, you were a god. So they didn't balance it around that because they needed to make sure it was an adequate challenge for a group of 4 players, especially post floors 130, where you start getting to the floor 140 boss, who's a monster sometimes, and then it just gets harder and harder from there. So I don't see them making adjustments. However, with the expansion on the way, they may make adjustments sort of to tantalize people to go back in and try to beat their old solo records. So it's possible. I don't think it's high on their priority list of things to do. As for the swimming theory, I totally think that's how swimming's going to be used, because we know underwater combat is not a thing. Thank God. That is how I kind of anticipate swimming to be used. I expect there to be dungeons underwater where there's pockets of pockets of air. I expect that water is going to be used in other ways, because they said that there's no fighting in the water, but they said if you enter the water with like a damage over time ability on, that you will die. That you will still die in that way, almost similar to when you jump off of a cliff when you have aggro on a monster and you die when you hit the bottom. So it's possible we may see it used in those kind of ways without directly having you fight while in the water. So yeah, I would totally not be surprised if something like you just mentioned there is used in the newer dungeons. Next question. Happy birthday tomorrow. Oh, that's right. The last Mondays with Mr. Happy was the day before my birthday. I was weird. I'm sorry. I forgot my birthday was like 5 days ago. It's crazy. Happy birthday tomorrow, Mr. Happy. Thank you. I've seen mention of a discussion Yoshi had about how Blue Mage might work at the Tokyo Fan Fest, but I can't find any details. That's because said details do not exist. He didn't describe anything about how Blue Mage might work. A long time ago, at an interview, I think it was back in 2015, somebody asked him if he would like to add, Blue Mage to the game, if it was possible. And he said it is, but it wouldn't be what people envision to be a Blue Mage like. When he thinks Blue Mage, he thinks, oh, I go around and I collect all these abilities from all these different enemies, and he directly said the same thing I've been saying. The abilities in this game are not really interesting enough to make a Blue Mage want to learn them, or to even make them sort of a good design decision. So he said, well, we could do it so every 5 levels, you fight an enemy, and we give the enemy a unique ability so that you can learn it, but then that kind of doesn't feel like Blue Mage. So he was torn because he likes Blue Mage, but he doesn't see like a solid implementation. He specifically said he doesn't want to add the job unless they can make it feel authentically like the way Blue Mage should be. So that's kind of why I'm like, even though Spider-Man makes a lot of sense with Blue Mage, I'm kind of like, I don't think it'll actually end up being that. And I know with the Azure thing that happened today, which I'll probably have to mention in this video, because otherwise a million people are going to ask about it. I'll do it later in the video, guys. The whole quote, the whole New Year's quote, I'll talk about it, okay? But not right now. Let's get through the questions first, all right? But no, there's nothing this last FanFest about how they can make Blue Mage work. They wouldn't do that if they were in the process of potentially teasing the job, especially. All right, next question. Hello, Mr. Happy. Been watching for a while, but my first question, take a prize of your choice. The expansion releases tomorrow. Okay, on to the question about the Red Mage. Do you believe that the class is going to run into the problem that Arcanist did, in which you have to pick either Int or Mind to do the job of... No, Red Mage is a pure DPS. It is not a hybrid job. So no, it will not have the problem that Arcanist had. Well, what the main stat is, we don't know. Why they've neglected to comment what the main stat will be is concerning. But no, it's not a hybrid job. Your dedicated role as Red Mage is a DPS, and for sake of the limit break, you're counted in the same slot as Black Mage and Summoner as a ranged magical DPS. On to the next one. Happy birthday, Happy. Thank you. Have the most amazing birthday cake and ice cream company. You know, I'm not big on like birthday cake, ice cream. Like, I don't really, it's not really something I think about on my birthday. Like, oh, I want my birthday cake. Whatever. If I want cake, I'll have cake. You know, look at me. Like, I've had plenty of cake. All right. One, whatever happened to the Triple Triad app for 14? They talked about ages ago. It exists on the Portal app, I believe in Japan. I don't know if it's on the Portal app here in North America. Maybe it is. But they originally wanted you to be able to play Triple Triad outside of the game and have it affect your progress inside of the game. It didn't work. Bottom line. They kind of abandoned that. Two, did they release another teaser at Japanese Fan Fest? What do you mean another teaser? Like, that's not specific enough, because I don't know what that means. If you mean like the 2-minute teaser we got at North America, no, they replayed the same one. Favorite dessert? Well, since you talk about cake already, I'm a cookie kind of guy. Like cookies or something that like I can enjoy. Like I can enjoy them kind of slowly. Like I can take one cookie, break it in half, break it in fourths, and I can enjoy it. But if you give me cake, I'll just devour the whole fucking thing. So I like cookies. Cookies are my go-to. Do you think there will be a sequel to World of Final Fantasy? I hope it is, and I hope they kind of address some of the issues that were in the first one, including kind of the pacing of the storytelling, which it was like way too fast and then way too slow. Like it never hit like a good stride. And the summoning and the extra large mirages, like they were good, but like the system for them both was really weird. Where like summoning was like you gradually earn them over the course of the fight, and you can only save up a maximum of 3 stars, while some summons are 1, some summons are 2. And then the extra large mirages, most of them were pretty much a waste of time, other than like Bahamut and maybe Diablos. Iron Giant's okay when you're first progressing through the game, just to tank up like a super big attack, but they felt underwhelming. So I hope they fix those issues. And then they release a second game. And 5, where's Aloha at right now? He is sleeping in his tower in the other room. He's a little ornery because we had a friend stay the night last night, and she brought her dog, and Aloha no bueno with the dog. So he's kind of been secluded and a little bit agitated today. All right, on to the next question. Hey, Mr. Happy. Finally stopped procrastinating to ask yourself... Finally stopped procrastinating to ask you a question I've thought of for a while now. First, fun fact, I was the tank in your Gabal normal run in your Healer Happy video. Hey, nice. World of Final Fantasy based question, potential spoiler, but I'll try not to make it too spoilerific. It's been out for a couple of months now, but you know how we do. If somebody says spoilerific, if they do the courtesy of giving us a warning, I do this. When you see this thumbs up again, spoiler is over. Or if I've determined it's not a spoiler, you'll see this thumbs up again, and we remove it from the screen itself. Boop. All right. Given the events at the end of the game with Rain and Lon, what are the chances you think we'll see them in a future crossover event with 14 or Kingdom Hearts 3? 0%. Spoiler over. No, but seriously, that's probably not going to happen. I don't think those characters gained enough traction to warrant a crossover event. And if they were going to do it, I feel like they would have done it for World of Final Fantasy's release and not, in the future. I don't think those two characters made enough of an impact to warrant them getting that kind of attention. Oh, and by the way, happy belated birthday. Your present, Instant Servani X Clear. That's boring. I don't want that. I want the weapon, but I don't want the instant clear. I want to go in there and beat it for the first time. Yeah, buddy. All right, next question. Got the thumbs up, so we're good to go. All right, next question. Happy birthday, Mr. Happy. Thank you. After seeing characters from Final Fantasy Tactics now Type 0 appear in Dissidia, will made-for-mobile Final Fantasy such as Dimensions and Brave Exvius get the same recognition? Yeah, I don't see why not. I mean, just do it, right? I mean, even Kingsglaive characters are popping up in Brave Exvius. Like, you might as well just start including them in everything, you know what I mean? If you're going to do these, like, World of Final Fantasy doesn't even have some of the main Final Fantasy games cast in it. So maybe that one still needs a little bit more time. But yeah, I don't see why they shouldn't be giving them all the attention that they need. And next question. Hi there, happy man. First time question asking person. Really? Oh, well, I recognize your name from the Twitch chat, so I was like, huh, I swear you've asked me a question before. Nah, it's the first time. It says post 1. No bonus. What are your opinions of Square Enix expanding the 15 universe? It seems like they were rushed in a lot of aspects to 15, but the universe actually has some genuine interest from fans. I do not want it to be like the 13 trilogy, but I think it might be interesting to take expansion-style DLC for 15 to expand it more and explore other stories, really build the game like The Witcher 3 built with their DLC expansions. It could also be argued as a good business decision because making a new game engine is quite costly. So one, I like them expanding on a universe. I feel like it's better for, in any Final Fantasy game, to connect a universe more. There's also apparently a 30-minute audio drama of the day before Noctis leaves for Alticia. So, I've already listened to it. It's actually really, really good. There's some great character interactions between characters like Libertus and Iris. And then you have some interactions between Gladio's father and his son, some interactions between Gladio and Regis. So it's actually an incredibly well done, about 30-minute audio drama of the day before. And it's fully voice acted, by the way. And there's a YouTube video out there with subtitles also. So it's fantastic. I highly recommend it. And it's great to have things like that, because there's no way I would have asked them to put 30 minutes of cutscenes like that into the game itself. Because any game that starts with 30 minutes cutscenes, no thank you. So yeah, I mean, I like it, but I agree that it definitely feels like they were rushed. They were told, hey, this game we kicked Nomura off the project. You guys, this is the year we're looking to launch it. Put something together, work with him, get a story. And he never finalized anything but the damn characters. Like, it's the only thing that he, like, finalized. And the rest of it was, like, Fabula Nova Crystallis generic shit that they do in all the Fabula Nova Crystallis games. So, yeah, Tabata was given a shitty hand, no matter how you look at it. He was said, you have this much time to get this much done. And they had to, obviously, there were things they couldn't explain. They couldn't take an extra 2 hours to explain the events of Kingsglaive, because that would have probably been about 3 or 4 hours of gameplay. There's no way they could do that. So you know what? Have a different team take care of that, and then have a different team take care of the audio drama. Like, they just started putting resources into all this universe expanding stuff that everyone wishes was in the game, but it would have never got done, or the game wouldn't be launched on November 29th, 2000. Not even September, of course. September, November wouldn't have been released probably even in 2017 if they had tried to get all those things and everything they wanted in from the start. It was not going to happen. So, yeah, Tabata was dealt a shitty hand. He did a pretty damn good job with the hand that he was that he was dealt, I feel. Now they have 2 separate teams working on DLC. One of them's working on the free, one of them's working on the paid, and then they cross over to reference each other in occasions. But they have 2 teams working on the DLC. So I'm hoping that with that we'll see a decently expanded game over the course of time, and then the definitive edition on Steam. Hopefully one day they get that team to finish it on Steam. But anyway, yeah, I think it's good. I think Final Fantasy XV's universe is worth expanding, and there's a lot of it to expand to. Continents we haven't even really gotten the opportunity to explore. So I think it's a good decision, especially since they spent all that money on that engine. So hopefully we'll see what they can do with it in the new year. All right, next question. Hey, Mr. Happy, how you doing? How you doing? I'm doing all right. How you doing? I watched you rant about what Stormblood could be, should be, and was surprised that you were so critical of Heavensward. Of course, honest criticism typically comes from a place of love rather than hate. So it's understandable that you want 14 to be the best possible game it could be, as it all should. You talked a lot about Final Fantasy XI making the most out of a small budget, so I'm curious, how do you think the reportedly tripled budget of Stormblood will affect the expansion? You say, by the way, it's not reported. Do you mean reportedly like we've been saying it, as opposed to it being proven? I don't know. I guess I'll just take it as face value. They told us they have 3 times the budget. Let's go with that. You say you want 14 to innovate and make the most out of its budget, but I was wondering if you could expand a little more on that, especially with regards to the bigger budget. So a bigger budget means a lot of things for Final Fantasy XIV. One big thing immediately is more voice acting. That's not something I particularly have a problem with, but it's something that I expect that a fair portion of that budget will go into. Server updates is another thing that I fully anticipate it would go into. They have it's approximately like, I think, a $35 million budget over the $12 million budget of Heavensward. So with the inventory expansion coming up, I expect a fair portion of that budget to go into the inventory expansion, something that has been heavily asked for by the player base. And they also said they're going to push the limit, see how much they can get out, how much they can humanly get out of it inventory wise. So that's another part I expected to budget. Other than that, it's a matter of where it's spent on content development. Because here's the thing, I'd be perfectly okay with kind of like the same content patches we've been having if it went back to being more. Like, I'm tired of the expert roulette being 2 dungeons. I'm tired of only 4 bosses in a raid. Like, with this kind of budget, obviously time is still a factor, it's still a restricting factor, but getting more than 4 bosses, because based on the interviews, it seems like we're only going to have 4 bosses still in Omega. Like, even just a 5th boss or a 6th boss. would just be phenomenal if they could accomplish it within the budget. I would accept that, even though it's not innovative content. It's sort of showcasing where this budget is going in a sense, and what they felt was prioritized. Now, of course, raid content is my personal interest, and I know it's not the mass majority of the community's interest. So I'm not asking for 6 like A3 Savage type fights, you know. But having more boss encounters also allows you to sort of ease out the difficulty curve, so people can better learn within the raid. I mean, A9 Savage has like 90,000-ish clears so far, and obviously some of that's repeats and alts, but that's a sizable chunk of the player base, bigger than I thought it would be for the clear rates. So, as for other things, I guess the design of the world, music is another place budget goes into, although the music has always been phenomenal. I've never criticized it. The actual design of the dungeons being so linear is something that I would hope they could adjust with a budget, making it so it's still somewhat reasonable to get through. But I mean, I did Wanderer's Palace today, and I was like, this is a dungeon. Like, Wanderer's Palace is still A to B to C, but it feels more dungeony. Like, if they could go back to this kind of design, I'm okay with A to B to C, you know? And I think they can definitely improve on that factor. Even just talking about earlier, incorporating swimming into how you get around into a dungeon can make the dungeon more exciting. Also, just not having 2 dungeons in a roulette and having a third one, please. I can't take 2 dungeons in the expert roulette. Even if you keep the old dungeons in the expert roulette, like 4.0 and 4.1 all in the expert roulette. Then when 4.2 comes out, do 4.1, 4.2 in expert, release level 670 roulette, whatever, or whatever roulette they're going to call it. Who knows? You know, there's so many ways to improve the game without reinventing the wheel. And I think that just being content with the same thing repeatedly is how eventually Final Fantasy XI, when it did want to make the changes, it was too late. The community was basically locked into a certain mindset, and changing it pretty much divided the player base to the maximum amount. It was already on a downward trend, and then the ones that were super loyal stuck around, and the ones that were just like, no, they changed it, I'm done. Like, you're never going to make everyone happy. But a triple budget should mean at least more of the things that they were already doing right, on top of some new things like Palace of the Dead, Aquapolis, Diadem. Not asking them to completely remake the game. I'm just saying, show us where this money is going in a way that increases the longevity of the experience. That is what I am saying. So hopefully that was an adequate answer to your question. Next question. Hello, Mr. Happy Birthday. Hello, Mr. Happy Birthday. Oh, you combined them. That confused me. Have a wonderful day and a happy new year. I'm Brazilian. So sorry in advance about my English. So good so far. Long-time YouTube viewer, first-time poster, have a bonus of early access to 7 Remix. See, this man knows how to give a bonus. That sounds really dirty. Phrasing. Just watched Mondays with Mr. Happy 124. You said that DMC is one of your favorite series outside of RPG games. It's mine. It's a favorite of mine, too. So my questions are, what is your favorite DMC game? I'm going to go with... You know what? I might get... A lot of people go with 3 immediately. I'm kind of a bigger fan of 4. I really like playing as Nero. So I'm going to go with DMC. I'm going to go with Devil May Cry 4 on that one. What do you most like in each DMC game? I'll tell you what I don't like. Devil May Cry 2. It's mostly the character interactions and the combo style. I like combo games. You know, like Bayonetta, DMC. Like, those are all generally interesting to me. The only ones that aren't combo games that aren't interesting to me are... what are they called? Muso games. I don't get as much satisfaction out of Muso games because those are more like destroying armies of enemies, and DMC is more like the way that you handle a few select enemies. Sometimes they mob you more, but you know, that's kind of what I mean. What do you like to play most? DMC, Devil May Cry 5, DMC 2, or DMC? I don't want any more reboots of Devil May Cry. Listen, I actually didn't hate DMC Devil May Cry because it played so fantastically. But, and the main character didn't annoy me as much as he annoyed other people. But compared to, like, if that had been the original Devil May Cry, I probably would have been more okay with it. But compared to Dante and, oh God, why am I forgetting his name right now? And Virgil. I kept thinking of Nero because of, you know, the whole Nero is Virgil's son kind of theory that's out there. Might even be more than the theory, who knows. But, like, I just comparatively, like, Dante and Virgil were so much more... They were less whiny bitchy. That's the best way to put it. 4, do you think... okay, this one's completely unrelated to DMC. 4, do you think Square Enix will ever add new data centers to 14? No. Not unless, like, the demand needs to be crazy high. Because, like, you can't just release, like you recommend a LAN data center. I don't know that the command for the game is that high in Latin American countries. Like, Australia has a somewhat sizable community, but even they are just on Tonberry because, like, that's where the majority of the Australians play, are on Tonberry, and that's kind of the thing, and they're all there, so they don't, like, do they need a dedicated data center like Europe has with just one server? Maybe the demand is high enough there to warrant it, and maybe if they did it, more people would play from Australia. There's a lot of things that I don't know the information on, that they know, that we don't know, that sort of makes this kind of like an uneducated answer. I just don't see them doing it. I think they're kind of happy with the way it is now. And again, happy birthday and happy new year, Senor Feliz, Mr. Happy in Portuguese. Don't worry, I know very well about Senor Feliz. Thank you, my man. Alrighty then, next question. Hey, hi. I'm a big FF fan, looking to buy a PS4 Pro just for $15. But after reading and watching some reviews, something got me worried. Apparently, you cannot just spam magic around like it's nothing, because it hurts your own party. Does this really hamper the use of magic and steer combat mostly towards physical? Well, it's not even that. You also can only use magic basically once every, I think it's 30 seconds. But you can't just be a spell slinger. You're always going to be moving kind of between both physical and magic. Don't get me wrong. Magic is devastatingly powerful in Final Fantasy 15. It's insanely ridiculously easy to just completely remove difficulty from any sort of encounter with the right use of magic. And for that reason, it also has the drawback, as you stated, of hurting your party members, but they also recently introduced an item with the season pass holders that makes it so that they don't take damage from that, or they don't take the initial damage, although I believe they still take the damage over time. So you can sort of mitigate that, and honestly, when you do use magic, it feels powerful. That's the good thing. So you have to decide. You're never going to be just a spell slinger. You're always going to be a mix of, you know, physical, magical, even if you are using magic. I guess your question is that going to be okay for you? By the way, don't just buy a console for one game. Make sure to get some other games for that PS4 Pro while you're at it. All right, next question. Sup, bruh? Oh, God, I see who's asking this one. All right, I think we have a problem that I started to worry about recently. Now that we're going to enter Stormblood, there's probably a ton of people that start their 14 adventure in 4.0 without having played 2 or 3.0. A lot of people are probably going to buy jump potions, skip the 5 years of story quests. By the way, the jump potion probably won't be available till after Stormblood launches, so it probably won't be out before Stormblood launches. Okay, but let me finish the question. But at the same time, I'm sure they'd probably want to enjoy and understand what's going on in the story and lore too. Final Fantasy players. Here's the thing. The people who aren't playing it right now, yes, some of them are Final Fantasy players. The majority of people who aren't playing Final Fantasy 14 right now are not dedicated Final Fantasy fans. Like, they are on other MMOs, most likely World of Warcraft, and they want to get in, but they just don't want to get over that hurdle. So I doubt that most of them who want it don't want the story. That's the whole point of the story jump potion. So we kind of need some sort of TLDR video. Well, it unlocks all of the cutscenes at the inn. So if you really do care about the story, you just go back to the inn and you just watch them in order. What we need is for the friggin' in-room thing to be able to play cutscenes back to back. It needs auto advancement, so like you don't need to constantly press a button to advance the text. Some cutscenes have it, but the majority of them don't. It needs auto advancement, and it needs the ability to play the videos without going back to the inn. Those are the things that we need more than anything when it comes to the unending journey. Please, please do that. I don't know if it's I don't know how difficult that is, but please do that, man. Okay, so we need some sort of TLDR video so I could just watch one video that could be like, I think that this is pretty much this. So the question is, do you think Square Enix is going to make some kind of video like this? No, I think that they'll give you everything in the unending journey and be like, if you're really that interested, go watch it there. Just give us those tools. Please. Auto advancement of the text. You could set it to like 10 seconds maybe by default. And also auto play next cutscene in the unending journey. Please. Please. That's all I want. And I think that that'll be what their answer is to it. All right, on to the next one. This is a really short 2 questions. Hey, Hap, 2 quick questions. 1, how do you think Crafted Gear will be implemented 4.0? Pretty similar to the way it is now. I don't know if they're going to do something new like they did with collectibles. If they'll introduce some sort of new system like that, they might just go with like the water aspect being kind of like the new aspect to gathering. I don't know what they'll do with crafting though. I'm kind of at a loss there. 2, do you think Monk will gain raid utility? So it has raid utility. The problem is that its raid utility is just it's very defensive. Mantra is very much a reactive thing. You're going to be using it to get extra healing out of a phase that does particularly high damage to ensure that without crits or RNG, your healers can meet the demand of the damage being dealt. Okay, that's fine. They have the blunt resistance and the intelligence. Obviously, the blunt resistance doesn't matter much because the only other jobs that do blunt resistance are the mages with their auto attacks, so no one cares really. And then the int down is also provided by Dark Knight, which then allows you to open up your composition to get different things. What Monk needs is more unique effects. Mantra can't, like healing, okay, fantastic. But in reality, it's just not that satisfying of an AoE buff. When a Dragoon uses, what's it called? I can't remember the name of it. Uses Battle Litany. It's amazing. You can, when you see those crits, you're like, thank you, Battle Litany. You know, when a ninja uses trick attack and you get that big hit because of it, oh, thank you, ninja. When a machinist uses you know what I'm saying? Like, the majority of people aren't seeing the benefit of the mantra. Only the healers are, and those healers can get away without it. So they need something that has more gratification to it in terms of a raid utility over what mantra does now. There's a lot of things that they could do with that, but also another factor is that it's the only job in the game that does blunt damage, which means, or DPS job that does blunt damage, which creates the issue of its debuff, or if it's of its utilities being super self-oriented and selfish, and again, very unsatisfying. Yeah, if you don't have Dragon Kick up and you miss and you friggin' Forbidden Chakra, yeah, you don't feel as good about it, but everyone else is just like, dude, you fucking suck. It's just the end of it. You know what I mean? Mantra's also cross-classable, although the cross-classable one is awful. It's okay, because it's there, but it's awful. It's might as well not be there. So I think they need to look at Mantra and redo that, and then give it something else that just makes it fit. Honestly, if they just did away with this whole like resistance debuff thing, it would probably fix the problem. Like disembowel, you have to do disembowel to get the chaos thrust. Like, that's, who cares? And then warrior and ninja, you have to make a decision whether or not you want to do it. But like, it puts so much emphasis on jobs. Warrior is part of the reason it's king. It's the only tank that provides a slashing debuff. If you give that to paladin all of a sudden, you know what happens? They make the ninja do it. Whoopsie. And then, you know, it's same other way around. If you don't have a warrior, you have the ninja do it. Like, you need these jobs for these debuffs. And because monks only affects themselves, it's a big reason why they're out of balance. They're just so selfish. So if those things fall out of balance and those aren't part of the balancing going into the expansion, it helps monk a little, but I do agree mantra or something needs to be more raid utility focused. What that will be, I have no idea. But I have a feeling they will definitely get it, because this is the same problem people had with Dragoon back in A Realm Reborn. Everyone said, oh, Dragoon has the piercing debuff, and that's it. You know, it doesn't give anything else, although the piercing debuff, fantastic for DPS. People complained about it, they give him Battle Litany. Complain about it at Monk, they'll give him something. We'll just have to wait and see what it is. And the next question. Hey, Happy, how you doing? I or all right? I'm doing I, man. I'm doing I. You doing I? I'm doing I. Okay, just a quick question for this week. Do you think anyone will ever lend a hand to the poor man hanging on for his life in Idle? Dude, I would love to have that guy's story explained. Maybe Boxman style. Remember when I did the Boxman video with the weird like shitty documentary voice that Ethis says is a complete disgrace? Will you help him? I should. Can we get a quest to help this man who's been hanging on for dear life since Heavensward began? I hope so. And next question. Hey, Mr. Happy, first time power, so have that 3.5 bird mount. Can't wait. Just a quick question. I am really on a dead server that gets populated for about a week after patch and dies again. I was wondering, well, I don't know what server that is. I don't think there will be any server merges in 4.0, although I believe that some of the really low-end ones could benefit. I think the cross-server party finder is going to help the people on those servers who are actually serious about doing anything, especially because you could do a cross-server static as of 3.5. You know what I mean? So my beard is way too long. It like gets in my mouth while I'm talking, and then you see me do this, and then it itches my nose. You see me do that. I gotta get this taken care of. I think that the cross-server party finder is gonna help, but no, I don't think there's gonna be anything like server merges. I think that as a PR thing, if they do server merges, it's really bad PR. So I don't expect them to do it. All right, next question. Hey, Mr. Happy, it's me, your friendly neighborhood summoner. I don't know that I have any summoners in my neighborhood. That would be weird. Took your advice about DPS from last week. Found a good teacher, worked with a different comp, and pretty much crushed it. So wanted to say thanks in advance. As my question this week, what kind of things outside the game and creating content do you enjoy doing? Food is a passion of mine. In case you couldn't tell, here's some physical proof. I love enjoying new and unique foods and tweeting about them and sharing them with other people and sharing my experiences. And I like going to restaurants a lot. I have a good time. You know, whenever I eat a new food, it's something about it. It makes me happy. It makes me Mr. Happy. Other than that, I used to have a heavy interest, and this is still video games, but Dance Dance Revolution was my physical interest. I used to have an interest in, I used to be a bit of a gym rat. I have a picture somewhere on my computer. Where is it? I love showing this picture from time to time because my chat sees it occasionally. And I have a shirt on in it, don't worry. For anyone wondering if it's, you know, going to be super inapprobes, you know, there you go. All right, here we go. This is that image. That's me and my friends Rich and Deanna. That's me when I was 21 on the right there. Oh, look at that. Look how Jersey I am in that picture. This was when, and that, by the way, that's not a bra. That's a heart rate monitor before anyone says anything. So that used to be, but once I dislocated my arm, my left arm, twice, by the way, and then I started really getting serious about this as a career, the amount of time I put into exercising just diminished so heavily. And I've tried getting back into it a few times, but every time I'm at the gym, I'm just so focused. What do I need to do when I get back? And I don't get the workout that I really want. So part of 2017, I kind of got to figure out a system mentally. It's a mental thing that actually gets me to go to the gym every day, stay at the gym. Not every day, obviously you need rest days, but, you know, to actually get me there in the first place. So I got to get back into that. And other than that, just going out and having a few drinks with a few friends, you know, just conversing a little bit. Some people are like, don't you dare say conversating. Conversing with other people is fun on occasion, I suppose. So those are just a few things that I could think of off the top of my head. All right, next question. Hey, Hap, if Squeenix does have Blue Mage as a new job, they need to have the pugilist trainer involved in the storyline. Remember how he'd get invigorated and stronger every time he whooped his butt? I don't consider that Blue Mage. I consider that more he was part Saiyan, if, you know, that seems to make sense. I consider the most Chloe book content mid-core content, but of course, I know some of all self-proclaimed big shot chime in that Chloe content is casual content. I mean, I haven't spent all days playing with with players failing Ramu X, Moogle X, Titan X, Ifrit X, Odin, etc. Also, many players don't even have access to a lot of the Chloe content, so it would be considered more than casual gameplay. What would you consider Chloe content to be rated on a scale of 1 to 10? It's not even content. It's a 1. It's repeating content that has been long since dated. Some of it less dated, like, I was going to say PvP, but until the Garo event, that's still kind of dated. Especially when it gives you secure, you're like, oh no, well, that's one option that's not here. But it's all old, it's not content. It's just rehashing of old content. It's kind of like the relic weapon. That's not actually content. That's just reusing old content with another quest asking you to do the old content again. To me, in terms of it being, the content being rated, the book in itself is a 1. I enjoy doing the individual tasks, but the book itself is only an incentive to do content that already existed. It's not actually new content. So for me, that's how I feel about it. It is a flat uno. And on to the next one. Hey, Mr. Happy, long-time viewer, first-time asker. Don't know why I turned into Sean Connery there. So please have a late birthday cake. I will take your birthday cake. I've got 3 questions. One is about Alamegans. I must have missed it, but why did they go to old Thanolin for help when Gridania is much closer? Because prior to Alamigo being... I was going to use a really fancy word. Being taken over by Garlemald. I was going to use annexed. That was the word I was going to use. Prior to Alamigo being annexed by the Garleans, Alamigo and Gridania were at war. So they're not on talking terms. Let's just put it that way. And that's probably going to come up to be pretty important in the expansion itself, even in 3.5, to be honest. And so that's why. And then so they go to the next closest one, Old Thanolin, where they created Little Alamigo, and the refugees live outside the city. Second one, have Square Enix ever mentioned if they're going to implement so you can use items from your retainers when crafting? I would love that. Sort of almost like the, what's it called in Guild Wars 2? Where you put like a bunch of trash items in its separate inventory in Guild Wars 2. And it works really well there, and I'm sure it's a lot of data for them to do it here because, again, of the rate in which it refreshes, but who knows? Maybe that's something that's possible after the expansion at some point. So no, I don't think they will, but I'm totally cool with the idea of doing. Can we already do that with Grand Company items? Can't we take Grand Company items from our retainers and hand that in? I guess they could technically develop it then. It could be done. It could be done, I believe. Will it be done? Probably not. Where's the third question? Then the third question is, have there been any announcements for Final Fantasy XIV coming to Nintendo Switch? Knowing it probably won't. We just got rid of the PS3. I think the last thing we're going to do is add on another console that is weaker than the current generation of consoles, and then develop it on that. To be fair, though, if the Switch does really, really well, I won't rule it out, but I'm not hopeful, and I wouldn't be if I were you either. And the next question. Hello, Mr. Happy. I wish you a happy, 2017 and a great expansion. I wish the same upon you. Here are my questions. 1. On my Paladin, I was having some issues with Provoke and Hallowed Ground. I think it's because I was using a macro for them. Oh, I know exactly what the issue is, because I use a macro for Berserk on Warrior. Hey, Bards, get rid of this for me real quick. Yeah, if you're using them with a macro, the way you press the button has to be different. You can't just so here's the thing. When you add an ability to a macro, it removes what's known as ability queuing. And that's if you press a button just before your global cooldown or just after your global cooldown. Basically, if you press a button in advance, it'll queue the ability to use it next. And you can do that. You can notice that really easily if you just go and use your global cooldown abilities, even the same one over and over again, and you press it just before the global cooldown finishes, like maybe about a third of the bar remaining, you'll notice that it'll automatically do it even though you don't press it right as it becomes available. Adding an ability to a macro removes that. You have to press it not only after you've used the previous ability, but every ability has about a half to 3/4 of a second delay after it actually executes the action, in which you can either queue up another action or nothing happens. Like you could do nothing with that time either. If you have a macro, you have to wait basically about a little bit more than half a second and then press the button once calmly, and don't do that, because it's probably going to screw it up even more. So it can be a little bit of a pain to get used to if you want to macro those things. But I mean, if you want to macro them, that's kind of the problem that you're going to have. So you just got to overcome it. 2, on my Machinist, I'm having the same problems keeping up my DPS. I'm having some problems with keeping up my DPS. Any tips how to remember to reapply Hotshot? Put a big fucking reminder in the middle of the screen. Like, put your buff and debuff bar, blow it up to the size of fucking Australia, since I need a country out of nowhere, and just put it fucking flat in the middle of the screen, and there's no way you can miss it at that point. There you go. And 3, I'm starting PvP mainly because of the Garo event. Which class would you recommend to use? Any. I mean, all of them do somewhat okay. Some that excel, I can think of Monk does fantastic. All the melee DPS do really well. I feel like Ninja's the worst off of the bunch of the melee DPS. Tanks, different play style, but they can do quite well also. Especially Dark Knights in Seas. Really strong. And then Warriors, they're Warriors. Everyone knows they're Warriors. And then, I don't know, both Bard and Machine. I don't think there's really a job in front lines that does poorly. It's all about how well you, play it when you get there. So whatever job interests you the most, just pick one and learn it. Don't keep switching and then it gets harder and harder. If anything, learn one DPS and one healer. And that's 2 jobs you'll have, and you'll be useful pretty much no matter what. I think we got 3 more questions over on the Dream Network forums. Wait, checking my time. Oh, it hasn't been too long. There we go. Hey, Mr. Happy, how long does it take for you to answer these questions? I wrote this in 2016. It took until 2017 to answer. Not cool, man. Not cool. It's a New Year's joke. I get it. All joking aside, I hope the New Year's treating you well. Hopefully, same for you. Anyways, on to your question. I saw that you posted a new bestiary video for Red Mage, which makes sense given the fairly new hype, but I was wondering if you plan on doing other videos for the Final Fantasy XIV jobs. By the way, by my count, you could have done Dark Knight Machinist, Astrologian, Dragoon, Bard, Ninja Dancer, and now Red Mage. I feel like I did Dragoon, by the way. I did Dancer, 3 weeks ago. I don't know if I did Ninja. I did Bard. I think I did Astro and Machinists, and I'm almost positive I did Dark Knight. I've done most of these jobs you've recommended. I haven't done... Oh, no. I'm sorry. I'm an idiot. You just listed the ones that I've already done. Thank you for reminding me, by the way. This means Paladin, Monk, Warrior, White Mage, Black Mage, Summoner, and Scholar are missing. And do you think this makes videos? Yeah. I mean, why not? Why not? Easy video, easy money, easy game. You know what I'm saying? I just make a video. I just make bestiary video. People watch it. That's how I make my fucking living. So bestiary videos, I can always make those. Those ones I just churn them out, man. So yeah, I can definitely make it on those. I don't see why not. Because I'm really interested in hearing what you have to say about Scholar, since I know it's a less common job overall. Yeah, I don't see why not. All right, next question. Hello, Mr. Happy. Happy New Year. 2 questions today, and as before, the main question is bolded, allowing my mind to dump context into the text box at will. You, sir, are a god and a saint. All right, would you rather combine Paladin's sword with its shield as a single weapon, like how Red Mage weapon works, or give every job a sub-weapon? Listen, giving every job a sub-weapon is going to be way more work than just saying, you know what? People don't like 2 different items dropping. Just combine the sword and the shield. Also, I mean, look at the shield stats. It doesn't even have flat defense. It's got block value and parry value, or it's got block value and block strength. I mean, I guess the one downside is that if you separate them, you're basically creating a flat block strength and block rate. But you know what? No one gives a shit about the parry stat anyway. If you really want to block something, you have to use a cooldown. Like, to do it reliably. So who cares? Just put it all in the weapon. Give the weapon and the shield one stat, add block, strength, and whatever you want to it. That's how I feel about it, at least. And 2, let's see here. Generally, what do you like in RPGs? What expectations do you have when you sit down and play a game? I like it when I'm introduced to a new world. That is the satisfaction. That's the biggest satisfaction I get out of RPGs. When I sit down and I start playing the game, and there's this area that looks like this, and this area looks like that, and then I start to associate. Well, I can find these enemies in this dungeon. I can find these enemies in the woods over here. You know, this enemy drops that. I like making connections to the way that the world is designed. So it's a really easy thing to please for me when it comes to RPGs. But I also want to make sure that the story being told in that world is satisfactory to me. The characters are interesting. The combat isn't cumbersome. You know, I want everything to just kind of flow. As long as everything flows and I'm not constantly hitting like road bumps or walls where it feels like the game doesn't want me to progress, or they want me to go back and do something else before I come back to this location where I am now. As long as it just flows, that's the #1 quality. Games that haven't really flowed well for me. Tactics didn't flow well for me. Although then again, I also have issues with old school, like the really old school tactics, like the PlayStation 1 tactics, between load times and just the controls feeling dated. So like, again, but because of those things, it doesn't flow. Controls need to be fluid. World needs to be fluid. I don't like selecting a level either. I like just the natural progression. Like Nioh is an upcoming game that's like Onimusha / Dark Souls style, and I don't like that it has like level select. Like, I don't like that. To me, that's super like disengaging when it comes to an RPG. So I'll say it one last time. Flow. Just flow. That's it. And I believe this is the last question on the forums, and then we can do just a few from the chat, because there were actually a lot of questions on the forums this week. Ahaps, happy 2017, same to you, my good sir. After beating Final Fantasy X and skipping 11 and starting 12, I realized how well 12 plays until you turn the camera. With the announced 24-man raid, return to Ivalice for Stormblood, and your concern about the Void might play a part in it again, I would like to know, how would you see the Void in Final Fantasy in general? How do you see it? For me, the Void itself, like the actual interdimensional rift from Final Fantasy V, which is how I define the Void. The interdimensional rift from Final Fantasy V, to me, is the Void. So that's how I see it, and that is a sort of like a way of retconning, connecting things in Final Fantasy games. If you have a character that makes references to another game, it's like, hey, you look just like this guy that I've known before, and it's someone who looks just like Bartz, for example. Like, to me, it's like, okay, that's clearly, we know how he got here, we know how the worlds are connected, and it's canon to me. In Final Fantasy XIV, and I believe Ethos and I had this discussion on one of the latest State of the Realms, where Omega, the Bend of Time, in Japanese, it is literally called the Interdimensional Rift. So we're going into Final Fantasy V's Interdimensional Rift, in theory, for the Omega Raid. Now, the question becomes, is that the Interdimensional Rift that connects the Final Fantasy games, or do we use the Void? Because the Void that takes over the World of Darkness is not the same as the interdimensional rift. So within Final Fantasy XIV in general, it's very, very difficult to sort of land on a which one is which kind of theory. And we won't know for certain until the Omega raid itself. And that's also why I have hope that we'll fight Shinryu in the interdimensional rift, because it is Omega Shinryu. I have a lot of expectations now from the interdimensional rift itself. So I don't know. The void is something that they just do whatever they want with it. I just see it as the interdimensional rift from Final Fantasy V, and it connects the different Final Fantasy universes. That's the best. Like you say here, Final Fantasy connecting space. Like, that's just what it is to me. And hopefully they do the interdimensional rift some good justice over in Stormblood. But anyway, I'm going to take a few questions from the Twitch chat now. Let's remove this from the screen. And yeah, let's just a few though, because it actually was a very, very long recording for just the forum questions. So let's get to it. All right, so I mentioned something at the beginning of the video that I said I would address later in the video, and since it's popped up in my Twitch chat as a question, I'll answer it now. Mr. Happy, what do you think of Yoshi P's New Year's greeting? Do you think the poem hints at 3 jobs? So, first and foremost, I will read you what the actual thing says. And I won't say that there aren't hints in it, but I will say that people are kind of not... They're not getting the whole picture. But the thing is, to get the whole picture, you kind of need to know Heavensward's Japanese name. Like, it's not called Heavensward in Japan. It has a different name. So this is what it says. Look ye where the sun doth rise, by the way, to the east. Just saying. See crimson embers, darkening skies. Clearly, crimson embers, Stormblood, darkening skies, war with the Garleans. All right? Look ye where the sun doth fall, to the west, by the way, which is where we just came from. See azure lost amidst the squall. Now that has one major meaning. Heavensward's Japanese title is the Azure Skies of Ishgard. Also, we have the Azure Dragoon. The theme of Heavensward was the color blue, and the skies, of course, with flying. That is what the Azure Lost is. That's it. We're moving past. To me, what this says is new expansion 4.0. We have the old expansion behind us. That's what the whole thing says to me. However, Lost Amidst the Squall implies that there's some sort of storm coming in the finale of Heavensward's story in 3.5. To me, if that means a character dying, you better fucking stay dead this time, unlike 2.55. I wouldn't be surprised to see Amaric bite the dust, or to see more likely Lucia. I feel like, just because of her tie as somebody who was once a spy in the Garlean Empire. But something bad might happen there, or it's just saying last expansion bye bye. You know, last expansion bye bye, new expansion hello. That's the most, I feel like, simple to understand thing. But to me, it has no bearings on jobs. Now, I won't lie that the whole talk between Red Mage and Blue Mage and both colors being present there, I won't say that doesn't mean it's not deliberately teasing the color blue for Blue Mage, but I will say that that's not what the poem itself is insinuating. That's not the story the poem itself is telling us. As for the picture under it of Yoshi P riding a new bird, which seems to look very similar to kind of like Valfer from Final Fantasy X, although far more radiant. I have a feeling that's going to be the bird for getting all of the Heavensward birds. You know how like we had Kieran for 2.5 when you got all the other birds? I feel like this is the bird for all of... I'm sorry, you had Kieran the horse for all the other ponies in A Realm Reborn, and this I feel like is the bird for all of the birds in Heavensward. So I feel like that's the kind of things that I'm looking at right here. So that's my interpretation. I said I would answer that earlier, so that's a good question. Thank you for bringing it up. And that is where I am going with the poem and for that picture. All right, the next question I'm going to take from the Twitch chat. Mr. Happy, what do you want to see in the revamped battle system? I feel like people are reading into this whole revamped battle system way too much. I think I touched on this last week, so I'll touch on it again briefly. It's not that big of a thing. It's not as big as people are making it out to be. We're not going to be changing to an action-style game like Blade and Soul. That's not a revamp. That's literally a different game. I don't want to say we're not going to see a reduction in the global cooldown, but it's incredibly unlikely that they're going to bother doing that when they still want to maintain the Heavensward level of difficulty for jobs. Speeding up the global cooldown is going to increase the difficulty of the jobs even after pruning abilities. All the revamped battle system is saying to me cross class is going away. They're introducing cross roll, which means that there's like abilities like provoke are no longer tied to a specific class. They're just tied strictly to the tank role as a whole. And that they're going to be pruning some of the old abilities to make room for some of the new abilities, or revamping old abilities. I don't think it's that big of a revamp. I think it's just some changes, some quality of life changes to make sure that there isn't this overwhelming number of abilities that everybody has to press, and that there's not this overwhelming need to level all the classes to get all these cross classes. That is all I think the revamp is. This is another really basic one. I think I also might have touched on this last week. How do you think Red Mage is going to fit into raid comps? It's going to most likely, I'm going to say compete, but that's just keep in mind that's based on the current meta and the way people play. It competes with the Black Mage and Summoner spot. I don't see people deliberately taking Black Mage, Summoner, and Red Mage. Now, I'm not saying all three, but like Black Mage and Summoner or Red Mage, you know what I mean? So, but the thing is, we don't know. For all we know, there's a lot more magic vulnerability being added to jobs. Like, maybe they add, like, maybe Samurai gets introduced, and to match the Final Fantasy XI players' visual desire of it, they make it so it can open up magical, you know, magical vulnerability, similar to the way that the Machinist AoE turret or Foe's Requiem does. You know, maybe they do that, and all of a sudden, magic damage is a lot more viable in the meta, and then you end up with this, you know, warrior, samurai, and yes, I'm saying samurai is a tank in that little section right there. Let's just say, you know what? I'll do you guys a favor. Samurai is the deepest. Let's say it's Warrior, Dark Knight, 2 healers, who gives a shit. Samurai, Red Mage, Black Mage, Bard is your composition. And that is super magic damage focused. And let's say that's meta. Then all of a sudden, it takes one of the melee spots. But if we're in the exact same meta as now, it probably competes with Black Mage and Summoner. That's where I go with that one. All right, so the last question that I'm going to answer for this week, Haps, what is your overall experience with the mobile games nowadays, specifically games like Final Fantasy Record Keeper, and would you recommend them for fans of Final Fantasy gamers like? So I try to avoid mobile games for the most part, unless I am 100% convinced that the mobile game has done a good job of making me want to spend money without making me feel like I need to spend money. Final Fantasy Record Keeper is probably the only game that has ever given me that feeling. Most of them, I kind of just stop myself. Like Brave Exvius is a game that I totally feel like wants my wallet. Mobius at times feels like it's a game that absolutely wants my wallet. Even some of the basic games like Clicker Heroes. Like I used to play a lot of Clicker Heroes in here because it's easy. You know, I just turn it on. Oh, what am I doing? And now it's like there's so many things that you can buy there, and it's like, and I know how slow the progression gets in that game. So I generally try to avoid mobile games. Record Keeper is like the only mobile game where when I play it, I go, you know what? I do not need to spend a dime on this game, but I feel like it's earned it, you know, whether that's stamina recharges, because obviously any game with stamina system eventually makes it so you want to spend money on getting stamina. Like, that's the way the game is designed, you know. I can't avoid that they've successfully dug their way into my psyche and made me want to do that, because that's the whole point of mobile games, is to get to that point in your brain where you're like, I need to do this. And I'm not oblivious to it. I'm not oblivious they've suckered me in, but I'm pretty good at resisting. So, nothing yet. So, we'll see how long that lasts. And I just started playing Record Keeper again for the first time since prior to Heavensward's launch. I haven't played it since before Heavensward launch. I even just made a new save. Like, I logged in with a different account and just started over because I was just like, I don't even want to continue the old one. So, yeah, I mean, honestly, the only one I personally feel like meets my expectations is Record Keeper. It's good nostalgia. The gameplay is fun. Although early on, it's very face-rolly. They give you so many powerful items to try and get you to get caught up that you end up kind of just face-rolling through a lot of it early on. But it's pretty rewarding when you get higher stamina caps and it recharges your stamina, or you get Mithril and you do those relic draws. It feels good. So they've done a lot of good in that game. I'm looking forward to 2017 for Record Keeper, and hopefully I can produce content, especially if they're going to be doing, you know, weekly draws and stuff like that. So we'll see what it actually ends up doing. But anyway, that's going to be the last question that I answer for this week. Thank you for your questions. Again, be sure to go over and ask them on the Dream Network forums. For those of you watching live, those forums go live under the video tomorrow when it releases on Monday. For those of you on the YouTube video, it's in the description of the video. And I've been good at remembering it. So next week, week 126, that's the forum you're looking for. Anyway, videos at the bottom one more time. And again, thank you so much, you guys, for a crazy awesome 2016. Between the subs and the tips and the cheers over on Twitch, between you guys watching tons of my videos, especially the Final Fantasy 15 and some of the expansion related ones for 14. You guys have been amazing for 2016. I'm going to do my best to make 2017 an amazing year as well. So anyway, thank you again. I'm going to hang out with the Twitch stream for a few more minutes, but on the YouTube side of things, thank you for watching, and until next time, take care.